So, I was going to talk about my housing situation and how that's changed. And yeah, I've talked about it before. I've talked about different housing situations I've been in, mainly like it was at a certain location, and mostly have always been at that location. So, there's a long history, and it has not been a good experience. Very tiring. There were some good moments, some okay moments, but overall, uh, very exhausting, and I would not recommend at all. But it's tough these days with the cost of housing and, so many qualifications, even if you technically have the money. In the US, it's not easy to find housing. Um, so there's a whole kind of backstory as to why I've lived, for instance, right now at the location I live in, why I've lived there for so long, for years. Um, there's a lot. I just think that I think the biggest thing I've learned is it's a lot. I didn't really realize the significance, but it's very significant when you give somebody, you're really essentially giving someone authority over your life, like you're at their mercy. They have your life at their disposal. When they're the ones giving you housing and a lot of your other material needs, you know, like when everything you have is given by a certain individual, that's a lot of power. That's leverage that can be used against someone. So, unfortunately, that was my situation. Um, and then some of that did end uh, because the individual, I was reliant on somebody, then they cut me off, and there's more to the story. But anyway, eventually, in conclusion, she cut me off financially, entered the workforce, uh, was there for a few years, exited the workforce, tried to find a job or jobs, but very inactively. I kind of resigned myself, very defeated, just taking it one day at a time. Anyway, so I don't know. I thought I'd talk about sort of the dynamics of living in someone's home, how that can affect somebody. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, I can relate it to sort of today or what I realized today, but I feel like it will sound trivial, but oh well. I've talked about it already, how, when you live with somebody in their home and how they can affect you financially. And I've talked about it on the channel. I just touched on it now. I don't have any notes or anything. It's all I'm just talking to talk. Yeah. So the overarching theme is, you live with somebody in their home and they control a lot of the elements in your life. Let's just take that situation, that living scenario. And then they decide to cut certain things off, take your whole lifestyle basically away from you. And you can say that, nobody's in, like, especially as an adult, nobody's going to take care of you, or, you're not entitled, I guess. But certain arrangements are made with humans, agreements, whatever. That's the way it is. And once you're in a situation, it's like you're only human, so you're going to, of course, have at least an internal reaction. And nobody likes being, the unknown, having your whole life kind of uprooted, and it's just messy feeling. So that's not fun. And I really was not ready for it. Like, I had never covered a bill, even small bills, yes, but hardly, just like buying random things or whatever I did with the money I collected or saved. So I did that all throughout my life, but when you're talking about a recurring, like, this amount is due consistently, that I did at a fairly late age. I think I was 23-ish. So, I mean, it sounds nice, and it is a big blessing in a way. Like, I do realize I was lucky in a way to at least always have somewhere to stay. Although, you don't have any rights. And I learned there were some occasions I had to lightly deal with law enforcement. I felt like nothing major, but anyway, I learned just a little bit that the legal system, law enforcement, it seems like they don't do anything. Very much felt mocked. Yeah, they were very, very biased. I don't trust them in domestic situations. No. Any kind. So I was saying that you have no rights, and so technically, like, in most areas, and I know in the U.S., even in the U.S. in most areas, someone doesn't really have to have a reason. They can kick you out just because they want to kick you out. There is, I think in most states, a formal way, technically, that has to be done unless you leave voluntarily. But basically, if somebody really wanted to go forward and make sure you're out, then best case scenario might be you have about 30 days or something. So yeah, you don't have much security. So, I dealt with many threats, and still kind of to this day, of being told that I have to leave, I have to follow the rules, have to do this and that. And there's a laundry list in order to stay here. It's just exhausting to know that you have no say, or very little in your own living situation and your own life is exhausting. And these things sound trivial. Uh, some things sounds trivial when it comes to just the way you want to live in your housing environment but I don't know. As the years gone by, I really took for granted. It's the little things that you're like, it would be heaven, You take it for granted. And I understand, like, with time and just sometimes in life, things change. Someone may be able to contribute in your life in certain ways at one time, but then at another time they may not be able to contribute in the same ways. But I don't know. In my case, I really do feel like there was so much strategy and lies, and even to this day. Yeah. I'm sure there's a decent amount I haven't come into terms with having to live this way for so long, and so many changes, and it's just been a roller coaster. But I'm trying to articulate. I think a lot of sort of the feelings is just, in some ways, especially the lifestyle, I just want what I have, or what I had, I should say, what I had. Um, just feels like a lot of it is just gone. A lot of the elements of my life that used to be there no longer. That goes beyond the housing situation, but kind of connected. Anyway, I'm like ranting because of the day I had today, and it's more of the same old, but I think I'm just like continuing to realize, like, it's just being hammered into me again and again, but not as seriously as you think. Like, I just feel like by now I should have had a strong reaction and started taking action, and I guess I'm grieving, and I do know subconsciously or whatever that I really don't think that this living situation is just, it's not going to work out. And I just feel like, why did I absorb my life so much into this situation for this long? Feels like it's for nothing. I guess it grew my character, and I'm sure it taught me a lot of lessons maybe earlier in life than, like, some individuals, they learn what I've learned later in life, whereas I've had to deal with that earlier. Yeah. I don't know, I'm just like grieving everything that I feel like has been taken. And it's like you're trying to figure out, okay, what should exist now? I just feel like right now in life, and it does kind of relate to the housing situation, there's so many elements of my life that are just not, even the small things, just the details that are not what I feel like it should be. Like, even the way I want to live day to day, I'm not really, well, it's very hard because of the housing situation. Like, there's a lack of boundaries, a lack of respect for my wishes, and I'm just dealing with living with somebody who totally is good at dominating, wants to dominate. And basically just wants to dictate me into being a different person than I would want to be. But because of the housing situation and the reality is I have no rights, uh, it's like that has been threatened, used against me, and I have received threats related to housing. Like, this individual claims to, I live with her in her house, and she claims to care about my health, which I don't really believe. I think it's just she doesn't like how I look, and it's abhorrent, basically. So it's her own thing. Um, so basically, there's this undertone of being forced, and sometimes I'm outright threatened. And this has lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe longer, I don't know. But somewhere around there, where I've been um, told that I have to basically walk every day, and maybe TMI, but there's been even a time when I was, you know, time of the month, and even then I was basically told that I better walk, kind of thing. Um, and exercise is a good thing, and it's kind of essential. I mean, it's good for your health, but for me, I feel like I don't necessarily, I mean, there's so many other concerns I have in life about my life, and I don't feel like it has to be done every day. Like, at this stage, there's other things too. worry about, that it's not worth the stress to be like, oh, am I gaining weight? Am I losing weight? What's going on? I was also told many times, there's so much medical coercion that can go on when you live in someone's home too. Um, the idea of confidentiality, forget about it. Uh, but I mean, someone can say basically, oh, you have to do X. That could be anything. And if you don't, you're going to be kicked out, basically. So they could attach any condition with you staying there, including um, saying, well, you have to do certain things with your body, or to your body, which is what I'm dealing with. Um, I made it clear I was hesitant and it was against my wishes many, many times, but that didn't matter, let's be honest. I don't think it ever mattered. And there was this fake, like, oh, if there's any bad side effects, you can stop. Like, oh, it's only just going to be one kind of thing that you have to take. All this kind of fake. Yeah. Uh, Fake, what do you call it? Not assurances, but like this idea that I would have a say. But it was just to try to. I think it was just to try to, minimize things and be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Just do this, do that, do the next thing, until before I know it, God only knows. So yeah, I feel very violated in that sense. And the doctors, the medical team that I can say I'm like loosely associated with, they did not truly honor or respect my wishes whatsoever. We did joint counseling, and even though I made it clear, hesitant, I do not wish to do this, even the counselor several times continued saying, oh, you should take this, take it, why not, blah, blah, blah. So it was very much, everybody wanted me to go down a certain route who was involved, just a few individuals. And I didn't want to, but I guess I'm weaker than I thought, than I should be, or I don't know. And there's very much a minimization of the side effects, which so for me, I was coerced into taking certain things, ingesting them into my body, and there's very much common side effects involved, but those were very minimized. Very sensitive and even vaguely mentioned each time I try to go into a little bit of detail. I would just like immediately sob. So it's very touchy, very sensitive. Hey. No. He wants a pet. So, she's distracting me. Yeah, I've already felt some of the side effects, luckily to a decently slight level, but I've read they can get worse. Some folks claim like side effects in general can last years. There's even this idea that some believe in that like there's certain effects that can last basically for the rest of your life, and it's just when it comes to side effects, especially amongst women, I really don't feel like we're getting the full information whatsoever. I feel like a lot is deliberately kind of minimized or not researched into. I don't think the medical industry is really honest about these, substances that doctors can authorize. There's certainly not a true respect out there for how these can affect somebody. You're just kind of looked at like as stupid, or I don't know. Like you're just very invalidated and minimized when you do express a serious concern of these side effects. Ow! Oh, no. Her claws. Trying to talk and you're here. No. Okay. No. I'm gonna get a blanket because this cat's claws is just can't handle it and talk at the same time. Yeah. It honestly makes me feel a little bit enraged to just think about how I've been treated when it comes to these substances. And how I really don't think these doctors have behaved in my best interest. know what else I was going to talk about. I'm kind of stuck on the sort of thought of, just the reality that I talked about the health, the exercise, the lack of control over my own body. Yeah. Oh, I was going to mention, like, again, this doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. So right now I don't have a job, I don't have income, and not really. So I am financially reliant. Well, it's really just housing, to be honest. Hardly anything that's been covered, like I can't even ask for 20, $40 or like I just asked for a certain food and I was basically told no, so today for instance. So it's really, I cover my own food. But yeah, it's really housing and utilities, which is a blessing, but you have to deal with this every day, and it takes away from your sense of self and confidence. Or I don't know, there's something about when you can just live your life even a little bit, just the little details in the way that you want. Like, you can have some of the things you want, you can buy some of the things you want, you can associate with sort of who you want. Like, stop it, your claws hurt. Come on, stop. Get, no, no. Here, 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 just here. Come on. No. Excuse the disturbance. Okay. No. Yeah. You see? This cat who doesn't want to stay on the blanket instead wants to. No. Hey, no. No. Yeah. So what I was saying was, I don't know, it's just draining. It's tiring. It's something else when a lot of the elements of your life are taken. Stolen, or I don't know. What else? I don't know, I'm just like realizing I realized it before too, but the reality is even our latest kind of housing agreements, just I'm tired of the constant changes and the fact that certain agreements are not being followed. Like, I'm following what I need to do on my end, but on this individual's end, she's not following her end of the bargain. So, like, for instance, the bedroom that I use kind of as my bedroom, even though it's not mine, is, I have to have it decently clean. So that means nothing on the floor. And, but other than that, and there were even comments made to allude to this, it's like, as long as everything is kind of hidden away, closed, basically there shouldn't be visible mess. Um, but like details as far as how I organize and how I store things, that is to my discretion. And already I was starting today, for instance, and um, because I kind of stuff clothing sometimes in closet, so that was found out, and I was basically told that I have to make sure the clothes go in a certain area or whatever. So yeah, as I'm saying it, it's like I feel stupid, to be honest, because that feels like such a, not that big of a deal. Why am I whining about that? I'm tired of having it's annoying to see. It's more than that. I've dealt with food insecurity and just financial difficulty, and it's not easy for me to afford